Oscar Piastri. Oh, Oscar Piastri.
If only I knew the words.
Ah, it's quite simple. Sing along at home if you know the words. Um, Hello, welcome to another McLaren fans podcast. The one just after the Hungarian Grand Prix. And as you can probably tell, we're a little bit happy because we got a McLaren 1-2. Not only that,
Spoiler alert.
well, come on. Not only that, I've been up since 2 a.m. this morning because I've just traveled back from Budapest, having watched the race live at the track. And it was horrible. It's the most nerve-wracking thing you can ever do in your life is sit watching McLaren try and win a race at a track thinking 10 laps to go, don't do anything, no safety cars, don't do anything like this. Oh my God, what's Zhou doing now? Oh no, no, don't go that, don't do that. No, no, Verstappen, don't try and take Lewis out. You know, all that kind of stuff going through your head. Every time you see that, you just like, oh, but yeah, fantastic.
So
Fantastic.
don't forget, last week Silverstone, we were in 1 and 2, and we didn't win. So that is fresh in the brain. Like we were nearly there.
Yeah, yeah. And I think after the Silverstone race, I think we're talking to your good self and saying, could we have won that race? Yes. Could we have had a 1 and 2? Yes. So this feels, we've talked about these moments a few times before. This feels different. This was a total domination of a race weekend by McLaren.
Weekend. It was the whole weekend.
Weekend. If you looked at the bare stats, you probably went, "Oh, you weren't doing that well in this FP session here or anything like that." But there were genuine reasons why Oscar wasn't up there at times and Lando wasn't up there at times. They were either running something slightly different or the traffic was a huge problem, which when you were actually watching at the track, you could see people being held up in the last corner all the time as people are vying for the right position to get around and things like that. So, uh, yeah, you kind of like, well, if we nail this and put it together, I was thinking we're in for a good weekend here. And I'm thinking, a podium at least, race win, possibly. And we had it, I'm sat there thinking, definitely got a chance of going for pole. Definitely got a chance. But there was always that factor that Max Verstappen pulls something out of the bag, especially he's done it before many times. Or, all of a sudden the Mercedes look hot again, and you're like, right.
So
Friday was,
you were very clearly in Hungary, right? And you were watching live, and it's amazing. Was there enough data for you to be on the McLaren on the Formula One app, seeing the data screens as well?
um, when we get to the race, let's cover that point then, because I've got a few things I want to bring up that cover that and also cover how I dealt with it, right?
Nice. So qualifying then.
It's qualifying. So, well, if we start with free practice on Friday, just to set the scene, it was baking hot. I don't know what they said on the TV or anything like that, but it was about 38, 39 degrees, just sat in the stand. And um, yeah, that's hot. That's the track temperature they said over the tannoy was nearing 58, 60 degrees.
And if anyone's not been to Hungary before, it's in a bowl. And I went in 2013 with my sister, and it was hot. And there were public notices put around everywhere saying, "Do not sit on the seats; they're melting."
Yeah,
Physically, the seats were melting because it's just a heat sink of a bowl, isn't it? It was
it is. Absolutely. And this time they were allowing you to bring in more bottles, empty water bottles of up to 1.5 liters to fill up. There was plenty of places to get water. There was plenty of places to buy water if you wanted to. There were these little sort of little shower things you could walk through that like kind of sprayed fine water on you as well to keep you cool. Um, which was all good. There's those kind of things, a good bit of infrastructure
yeah,
there. You can't get away from the fact that this is a 30, nearly 40-year-old track now, built almost just at the end of communism in that sort of part of Eastern Europe. So there's a lot of things about it that are old-fashioned,
Yeah.
archaic, could call it traditional. And one of the biggest things, if you're thinking of going to Budapest and watching the race, I don't care what anyone says. The track is about 30 kilometers outside of Budapest. It's not in the city. You're going to have to get there by a taxi or by a train. This time it was two trains and a bus that would get you there. It was an hour and a half, 2 hour journey to get to the track. Sometimes it was over 3 hours to get back into Budapest, which is not particularly great. But they are moving a lot of people around. Just doesn't seem there's just not the infrastructure around the track to get people in and out. Now you could probably say the same around if you think of what Silverstone's a bit like, they've got a big major road that they can filter people onto and get people off and sort of one way to a motorway on one side, one way to the other. There's not that kind of infrastructure around this. It's all small little country back roads that are used
Yeah.
at this time of the year. It's just, yeah. So I think it's got to that point where the amount of people that are going 10 years ago when I went for the first time, it was not as busy. Friday was as busy as race day 10 years ago.
Were you there in 2013 or
Yeah,
14?
14, 13, 14.
Oh,
It was the 30th anniversary year we went.
oh, excuse my belly.
Yeah, we probably at the same one.
Euro 2013.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
We didn't know each other then.
No. I think I was I think I was there with Sarah. I think that was the one where I almost murdered her.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not in a bad way. She's just highly allergic to something, and I managed to buy something that had been contaminated and nearly killed her. But there you go. By the way, that's not why she's on the podcast today. It's not like I've killed her or anything.
No, we
She's
didn't do introductions, so Sarah's
done-
not here, but we thoughts and goodwill all with Sarah.
Yes, I've spoken to her recently. She's getting there. She's We had a good chat about the race, and you know, she gave me her thoughts.
I
Very
had
much
the
aligned with those.
Yeah, I had the honor of our company this weekend, but we'll get to that later as well.
Yeah. So I guess the sort of format of today is we've both seen some live racing this weekend. I've been to Budapest for the F1. You've been to London for the Formula E.
Amazing.
Is that the last one of the season, the championship?
It is.
So
It is.
um,
Yep.
yeah, I had tickets for both events, and I kind of decided, you know what, I'll grace Budapest and Hungary with my presence this weekend. Uh,
But you did give us elbow room, so I sat with Perry and we had a spare seat between us. It was lovely.
Excellent. There you go. I hope
Uh,
I hope he brought you some bounties to make up for it.
Haribo, but yeah.
There you go.
So
Right,
you clearly had the better race, and no matter what happens in the rest of the world, you had the better race. So we're going to concentrate on that. Hungary, 1, 2, amazing.
right. So I think we covered Friday. Saturday, quali was when it started to rain, started to get a little bit worried, especially in um, Q1 when Lando was just dropping down that order. I was like, oh, don't, no, no, don't have this screwed up. And we were really lucky that put it this way, there wasn't enough rain to put on more than a cap at that point. It rained quite heavily just before quali, but then it was just spits after that. And the place just dries up really, really quickly. It's almost like tropical, but it was about 10 degrees cooler than it was the day before. So it was a bit more manageable from a spectator point of view and everything. So yeah, so quality was like, right, we've got a chance here. For Q1, obviously not wanting to waste tyres. We got through Q2 pretty easily, and then it's obviously the pole position shootout. And it became quite apparent. Now, bearing in mind at the track, you get their version of F1 coverage. You
Yeah.
get what seems to be what F1 TV would be, with Laura Winter, Sam Collins, Alice Powell, and I think Ruth Buscombe was there as well this weekend, and a few others I think that were covering things. Very much a bit like what we get with Sky Sports. So you get a bit of that interspersed with some local stuff now and then and things like that. So you get that. You also get commentary in three different languages at different points, English, German, and Hungarian. Um, so it was very much kind of trying to follow it on the screens, see what the times were and things like that. The timing screens, and I'll get onto this more on the Sunday part, are very different to what you see on the TV as well, the track. So you were really going on what it was looking like, what the gaps were between the things. And so it would say basically it showed the top four on the same time because it only showed two digits
To
of timing.
0.0, yeah.
0.0,
Yes.
and you're like, well, actually, in reality, we know it's not really that. But it's quite confusing from a fan's point of view. Sat there, well, hang on, they've all got the same time. There's, more than just that. So it was obvious there was a little bit more rain coming. How heavy it was going to be, we didn't know. And they went out and did two runs to kind of get some laps banked and stuff like that. But you could tell that lap that Norris did was faster than the others. I don't know why, it just looked nailed. And I watched the cars on that last corner. Some of them would take the apex really closely and power out and sort of get the power down a little further down the straight than others. Some would take it quite wide and get the power out quite early for the straight. And some of them would kind of mix it up a little bit. So it was like, well, there's not one particularly good way or bad way of doing this.
So did you notice then with because the start finish line is quite early on the straight?
It is,
Did
yeah.
when we did our fast laps, did we go for the one that we got the power down earlier to get?
Lando and Oscar did two different lines.
Did they?
Yeah,
And 0.0042 or 22 between them.
yeah. And that
Mad.
that to me was like I wonder if that made that little bit of difference there or not. I don't know. Who knows? But Oscar seemed to be a bit more wider than Lando. Maybe it's just preference. But it was really good. Good to see from there. I could see pretty much down to the straight, and probably about half of the grid. Some of it was blocked with Pirelli banners across the track and stuff like that. But we see in the pit lane and stuff like that. So it wasn't a bad view. So yeah, so for them to put it on pole, well, already I'm quite, this is brilliant, fantastic. I'm having a great weekend. I'm thinking, oh, if we can convert this tomorrow, in real chance. And not just that, we'd look quite strong something right. There's a 1 and a 2 here for us. Um, and yeah, sort of, well, I thought I'd jinx Oscar on the Friday because I wore my Oscar Piastri top and he had two stinkers of a session. I was like, that's not coming out of
Whatever.
the bag again this weekend.
Or ever.
However, so yeah, so obviously turn up every day wearing a fire shirt and stuff like that. Shout out to uh, Steve Law and James B. McLaren on Twitter. They are two Papaya Plus fans, literally sat 3 rows behind me.
Really?
Literally sat 3 rows behind me. So I had a good chat with them. And it was good to see some more sort of long time dedicated McLaren fans out there as well. Bumped into a few other people around there, Alistair Mulheren as well, lad from Scotland, and one or two others who were just kicking about. A girl called Nikki as well that was out there. All, staunch McLaren supporters and stuff like that. So it's always good to kind of see people at the track that support the
Yeah.
team. A vast difference to what it was Pre-COVID, when I went out there, there was, you'd bump into two or three McLaren fans wearing your McLaren Honda tops and go, "Hello, all right, fish, yeah, all right." So this is a sharp contrast to that. Um, then we got to the race day. So obviously we're on pole. I'm quite hyped up by this. I'm like, right, all we need to do is get a good start. I'm thinking what we need to do as a team is just keep Verstappen in third place. Then we've got a bit of protection. We can work as a team, get to that first corner, get around there. Don't let him come around the outside like George Russell did in Silverstone. And basically, what happens? He drives off track to go around and
But
uh, go
did
on.
you know at this point that Lando had a clutch or no, accelerator pedal issues?
So let's cut to the thing of so you're at the track, you don't have the TV commentary, so you don't get to hear these sort of things. As they're doing all of the build up, we're watching some traditional dancers, some local DJ spinning some tunes when Martin's doing his grid walk and all that kind of stuff. So we're not seeing that kind of coverage. We're not seeing that kind of excitement and build up of like all the mechanics are at the car or there's something wrong here or anything like that. Um, so you're at a bit of a loss. And you sat there at the track and you think, well, I should really know some of this. I should have an idea. Um, the other thing, and this kind of plays in later, so we'll get to that as well, is about team radio. Uh, so let's just cover the start of the race. Then we'll move on to the rest of it, the juicy sort of bit. So literally, even with Verstappen that had gone off the track, and we could tell that something was going on because you saw the little logo pop up in the screen, Verstappen radio, Norris radio. Like something's happened. We got
Yeah,
the start replay that you would see on the TV feed and all the rest of it, and we kind of knew something had happened. And when you saw the replay, you were like, "Well, he's really gone off track and just taken that place. He's got to give it back." And then we're like, "Is he going to do it? Is he not?" And then obviously swaps around and I think jumps back down to third or fourth. I think at one point Lando was fourth.
yeah, yeah. The first
Um,
few corners, and then he beat Hamilton after Max almost took Hamilton wide.
so at this point, after that happened, we basically broke DRS
Really
within two
quickly.
laps.
Yeah, it was insane. But
And I'm sat
Piastri did
there
a Max.
and I'm sat there going, what the hell's going on here? Is something wrong with Max's car? Is somebody held them up? Have they gone off? Are they because you try you only see live your corner and a few little other bits and pieces and whatever they kind of shown on the TV. So that if they're showing a replay, you're missing something happening on track. So I'm sat there thinking, well, we've broke DRS. This is a good start. This is what we need to do. Now let's work as a team and keep going and just get sort of bring the points home really. Can we bring home a 1-2? Let's get those points. And at this point I'm thinking, right, oh yeah, we're controlling the race here. 10, 15 laps in, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then I guess from our point of view, not a lot really sort of happened until you started getting into sort of the last third of the race, did it really?
But don't gloss over that one word you said. Like we were controlling the race for
Yes.
that fast period. We were 1-2 in full control.
So exactly. For two-thirds of that race, we had everything controlled. And
Yeah,
it was, and Oscar was miles ahead of Lando at that point, and Lando was miles ahead of um, Verstappen. And
yeah,
obviously, then the pit stops started to come into play in Hungary. The undercut is a massive advantage, massive seconds,
it
um,
was.
and even more so this weekend than normal, I think. Uh, so once you saw people sort of pitting sort of for that second round of tires and stuff, you're like, okay, we're going to have to cover something here. And then they brought Lando in. Now, at this point, okay, you think, well, Piastri will be in a couple of laps time, and obviously he came in. And what we didn't see was the gap between Piastri and Lando had come down before Lando had stopped. You could see on the ladder, you basically see the gap from the leader on the ladder at the racetrack. You don't see the intervals at all. It's all from the leader. So you have to kind of remember, where was he before? What is it now? And is it coming down? Obviously, I'm not bothered about far too much down. I'm looking at the
No.
top four cars, thinking, right, who is in going to get us and stuff like that. Um, so they brought in Lando. Lando comes out, hitting some great laps, which you'd expect on new tyres. A couple of laps later, they bring in Piastri. Before I get to what happened when Piastri came out, I'm going to go over a couple of things. So we've got no ladder with the timings like you were used to at home, so you're calculating a lot of things in your head and gaps and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We've also got no team radio at the track. You get the little icon that comes up, and I think it's played, but it's so quiet that the sound of the engines, you can't hear a thing. It's useless trying to hear a thing. So that was impossible. The other thing, and this is the bit that you'll just laugh your head off at, every pit stop I'm going, what was it? Oh, was that slow? Was that fast? I'm looking at it, and everyone seemed really slow to me because, so I'm watching like Ferrari get these fast pit stops out. I'm looking at Verstappen getting out in a fast pit stop, and like I'm just thinking, they've just polished the wheel rims and stuff like that. Change it so that the logo's all in the right way up and that, and then put them on for us. And I'm like, oh, really slow. And I've watched the race back since then, and they're not. But it's the perception, it's what you're looking for as a fan. It's one of the bits that can go wrong. So when they're coming into the pits, I'm literally got my head in my hands going, right, okay. I like this going. This
Playing
is
it safe.
this is the point. Don't fuck it up. Just don't fuck it up. This is
Yeah.
where we need you to just do things right. So you're at a bit of a loss with some of these things and trying to figure it out. So Piastri then comes out of the pit stop and there's an audible gasp as they switch the TV to show Lando going past him. Literally an audible gasp in the stands of people going because they realise what's happened
Yeah.
and they like
Yeah.
going, and I'm like, oh, if they switch drivers, because we're not hearing the team radio saying
No, not at all.
this and done this. So the McLaren app
Yeah.
is an absolute godsend when you're at the track.
You get enough data to watch it. Not
Yeah.
watch video, but watch the text going through on McLaren app and you see the team radio. I love it. Team
Yeah.
stream.
So
Love it.
if something isn't making sense, obviously not hearing the other team radios or anything else like that, but I was able to load that up and see what had happened and get a fair idea looking through the last few sort of team pit radio comments and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, right, they've had to pit Lando to cover off Hamilton and Verstappen. And I'm thinking at this point, I'm thinking they must know something I don't because we're miles ahead of them.
Safety first.
I'm seeing us come round that corner, and then there's 5 cars in between Verstappen and then Hamilton. And the only time I can remember 5 cars just disappearing out of view in between Verstappen and some leaders was Abu Dhabi 21, where they were. So I'm like, right, he's got all them to pass. So there's quite a few back markers and stuff in between. Yeah, he's going to get the blue flags and all the rest of it. Um, so within that first lap though, Lando's got a 2.5 second lead over Piastri from being a 2 second gap down. That's
Yeah.
how good the undercut's a 4 second thing. The pit stop times were 2.3 and a 2.5. So you can't even compare them and say, well, one was a slow pit stop, one wasn't. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. So I'm going to skip over the team radio bits and come back to them in a minute. But to see our cars, one and two positions, finish that last lap without anyone near us, I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I was I was ecstatic, but I didn't know how to celebrate. I didn't know what to do. If I'd had some champagne, I probably would have sprayed it all over the whole stand. But I'm not used to us winning like this. I'm used to it being, well, the team got a strategy right in Miami, so we were quite lucky because, or maybe Verstappen had some floor damage or something like that. This was a domination of a race weekend, which I've never seen us do since probably 2010, 2011.
A long time, yeah.
Even
A very
even
long
then,
time.
it was always, we might win it, we might not. We had a good car, other cars were winning at that time, which is still the same, but this was like a real domination of a weekend. I was like, right, this is amazing.
We were prime. We were fast cars, great drivers, good strategy, great
Yeah.
strategy. Sorry, we deserved 1-2.
Yeah.
And actually, earlier in the weekend, the thought of rain was a worry for us. Like previously, we were praying for rain for a mix-up. We didn't want rain.
No, we don't want rain. We
No,
want
not with
everything.
these guys.
We want it to be a really boring race when we're on pole position because
There was a point where we weren't on camera for like 10, 15 minutes, and it was just focusing on the other battles. I was like, oh, this is what it should be like.
yeah,
We're so dominant, we don't even need to see our car. I'm sorry, Dark Trace OKX, Android Velo, everyone. We don't need to see our car because we're at the front.
yeah. So we obviously there was the whole, let's just call it the last sort of 10 laps or so and the conversations. If you put that into the mix of Verstappen almost taking Lewis out by uh, kind of overbraking and logging up, that's where our weakness was, a safety car, those last 10 laps.
Could have happened.
Yeah. It could have been that we were in the wrong part of the track and then everyone else could have pitted for tyres and we could have been knocked down the order from that. Um, Even a virtual safety car could have, taken a good chunk of time out of our lead and also put, our competitors behind us into a position. So having the one and two, I was still confident even if that happened, we'd have a win. But whether we'd have another podium would have been another matter because it would have been a bit of a battle.
And it happened literally 2 races ago.
Yeah.
Lando was in the lead, safety car came out, Max was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I think it was
Um,
Canada, wasn't it?
yeah. So I'm sat there thinking in the stands, is this our multi 21? Is this our multi 21, Seb? That kind of thing. I'm thinking there's 10 laps to go. Surely we're telling them to hold station, don't pass. We've got a 1-2 here. Massive amount of points for the team in the battle that we're in. We're not in the Drivers' Championship battle. I don't care what anyone says. We are not in that battle yet.
Right, I'll pick you up on two things.
Right.
One, Lando's in second, that's in the battle.
Okay.
And two, the multi 21, I was hunting for code, multi 21 code. And the number of times Will Joseph told Lando that turns 4 and 11 was the issue. Turn 4 is Lando. 11 is not Oscar. If it was turns 4 and 81 with the issue, that'd be amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know if I was trying to find a multi 21, a 481 kind of code. If they did it, they were really clever because even looking at the transcript, I cannot find a code that's like 481.
Right. It'll be there somewhere, won't it?
Yeah,
And I kind of feel sorry for Will Joseph. He's got the hard job there. Now, they've come out afterwards and said, we're always confident Lando is going to switch. Now, my understanding, and I've only watched this back, my understanding is that, Lando's come out after the race, said, I lost the race in the first corner. I didn't have the best start.
he did. Yeah,
Oscar deserved it. We played a team game as a strategy and we swapped over. I still think that he made a point that, hey, even though I'm the faster driver here,
6 seconds. He pulled out 6 seconds on Oscar, and Oscar went off at one point trying to catch. Unfortunately, that could have been worse.
yeah, yeah. So, and yeah, kind of telling him to kind of, well, if he catches me up, I'll let him pass. I think is a fair enough thing to say. Um, it seems what's happened is, and this is where it comes into it, right? If Lando had stayed out in front and won that race, he's destroyed the trust of one half of the garage. He's destroyed the trust of the management in him to do the right thing for the team and take team orders. Oscar is never going to trust him again, right? There's going to be fans on both camps going, well, he's a racing driver, he's going to take that win, whatever. I think Lando's been very clever here, right? I think he's made a point. Hey, I'm fast. Right? But then he's played the team game right at the last minute that he could, right? And he's played the team game because he knows for a fact later down that road, he's going to need Oscar's side of the garage if they need to rebuild that car after an accident in a practice session to get to qualifying. He's going to need Oscar to be his wingman if towards the end of this um, season he's in a chance of P1 or P2 in that drivers' championship, which, let's be honest, both of them would be amazing. Yeah. He he's
If you
he's
say
all
last minute, he didn't go last minute. He didn't do a Rubens Barrichello and do last corner, let Schumacher past.
yeah. I get it. I get it. He's also going to need um the uh the management on his side to trust him to do
Exactly.
the right thing and play the team game. Because at some point they're going to need to make a call to Oscar and say, Landon needs these points more than you. You have to let him past.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, remember Budapest, right?
So Zach wasn't there this weekend. He was over at the IndyCar.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Zach had to get on the radio to say to Lando, you're coming second.
Yeah. I think if Zach was there and had to say it, I think there would have been some conversations afterwards, which wouldn't be pleasant. I think there's probably going to be conversations afterwards. It sounds like when Will Joseph's come out and said, remember, we've got Sunday morning meetings, what we've discussed, they've already discussed a lot of these scenarios. He also said, you're also going to need Oscar and he will need the team,
Yep.
putting that very plainly. My whole bit of it is that generally you would not hear half of these team radios on a weekend, but because of what it is, and it was the spicy part of the race,
It was.
they all got played.
So
And we're
there,
looking
there was one there was one bit of a team radio which I question what was said. So if I've got the transcript, it's like Lando and Will Joseph talking about like let Oscar pass safe tires. Lando's like you should have boxed him first, then surely. Will Joseph says doesn't matter, and then Lando comes back and says it does for me, maybe. Now
yeah.
I heard it does Felipe, baby, referring back to Alonso is faster than you.
Yeah.
Now, what I would love is if in the heat of battle, Lando has managed to code a message, Felipe baby, back to Will Joseph saying, this is what it will do. If you make me give up the pass, this is what it will do. I
Right.
would love that to be true.
Yeah, I think you've just put two and two together and made five there, though.
Well, conspiracy theorist in me, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And basically, it was good to see the team celebrate. I did notice on the podium that Oscar moved his trophy to one side before Lando did the bottle smash.
He did, and he looked at him and laughed. Yeah.
Exactly. Um,
Do you know what? Actually, that's key. When they both got out of the car, there was no beef between the two of the drivers. I don't
exactly.
think any issue was the drivers. I think it was the way the calls were being expressed, maybe radio message. But I love the fact that Lando went straight over. Oscar was stood in his car, and Lando was congratulating him.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
thought that was
I think that the beef between the drivers is purely on Twitter and social media and all of these um, sort of places. Yeah.
Drive to Survive beef. That's what it is. This is going to be
It,
like a 5-part episode next year.
yeah. They've all got a bit of drama to write about for a week. So, I think a lot of it's come from there. So, um, one other thing I noticed is they all had this Oscar Piastri OP1 cap in the team photo. And I think Ted Kravis mentioned it as well. And I was like, have they been carrying them around every race?
Yeah, yeah, like the winners' caps for Lando in Miami.
Yeah. So,
They've done some mileage.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Right. I think we should maybe move on to Formula E now. So let's do that. Right, Andy. So I believe you were at the Formula E at the weekend as
Oh, we
well.
were. Yeah, we went down Friday night for a Saturday. Absolutely amazing. I genuinely love the build up, the atmosphere, the event, and the whole event of Formula E
Yeah.
is huge. Went down with my partner and my parents and Sarah Merritt and Nick Merritt. Met a few fans down there, which was very cool, to be honest. But yeah, it's just a lovely event. And just to get the one jab in at Silverstone, I have to get in because contractually obliged. 6 of us went for less than one Silverstone ticket.
Yeah. And that's what is that for the whole weekend? Am I right in thinking it's a Saturday and a Sunday event?
It is a Saturday, Sunday. We only went for Saturday though, to be fair. But Saturday is practice, qualifying, and race.
Yeah, it's just like all packaged into one day. So if you went on Saturday or Sunday, you'd still see a practice, a quali, and a race. You get the
Yeah,
whole thing, and yeah, I mean that sounds quite good. So sounds like there's a lot of track action to sort of.
there there is, and it's
So
brilliant. And one of the things I really love about Formula E is they are trying to be the most accessible to everyone as well.
yeah,
So um, there's a pit lane walk, and the drivers are sat out on the edge of the garage signing autograph cards, having a chat. Sam Bird literally sat down, signed, got up for a selfie, signed, got up for a selfie, signed, got up for a selfie. Couldn't have done more for fans if they tried. Jake was absolutely lovely, and got to give complete credit to our team because Jake and Sam were there for the whole pit lane walk. Other teams, the drivers came out for 2 minutes, signed 4 autographs, and got a picture for their Instagram. It's fine, and then went back in.
right.
And you could see they came out with the social media team and then left, did a few pictures, went back in. Our team were out the whole time, just being unbelievable. They're everything you'd expect and want from a McLaren Formula E team, and you couldn't ask for more. Loved it. But yeah, the event was great. We did all right. In no way at all in the race.
I'm right in
Uh,
thinking that this is held at the Excel Centre, and they go through the actual exhibition centre,
yeah. So
side into the roads around there as well.
yeah, the start finish straight in the pits are all inside, so you get the inside atmosphere. and then the rest of the race is held around the XL Centre. So there's a couple of straights outside of it of turns, which is unique. Indoor race. It's also it is genuinely the closest form of battling in motorsport that you'll see for a long time. Four-wheel motorsport, because obviously bikes is better. Um, better is questionable. Um, yeah, it's brilliant. So we got done in slightly on the race on Saturday with there was a crash right in front of Sam. He just got pinned into the wall. Couldn't do anything about it. He dropped right back to literally to the back. But then it was I think it was end of season bumper cars. Like they've all decided they don't need the cars again after this weekend. So there was a lot of not even rubbing, just a lot of just hitting and pushing, and a lot of we had a couple of safety cars, a lot of positions gained and lost. Sam went from 22nd to 8th. He didn't do badly recovering after he got put right to the back. And Jake unfortunately had to retire the car at some point on Saturday quite early on after a little bump. But that was cool though, because both our guys got into turn one, right on the corner we were sat at, and you hear and you see everything. So you're not hearing the engine noise because it's electric. So you hear the rubbing, you hear the bashing, you hear the bumps, you hear the wheels squeal. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Could have been better if we'd come 1-2, admittedly,
Hmm.
um, but we did all right. And to see our car on track is brilliant. And then we had a funny coincidence go this year compared to last year as well. We stayed at a hotel last year, and at breakfast we happened to see Jake Dennis, and then he went on to win the championship. This year at breakfast, same hotel, we saw Pascal Wehrlein, and then he went on to win the world championship. So
So there you go, folks. Whoever has breakfast with Andy on the day of the Formula E gets to win it.
it's a guaranteed cert. So Jake or Sam, if you want to, I'll give you the hotel details. Come for breakfast with us, and we're world champions.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. So I assume that there'll be another race next year around the same time. So
Yeah. Double header at London seems to be the way that Formula E finishes at the moment, and it's been confirmed as London again. There was some talk of Silverstone maybe, but it's gone to London.
right.
It's cool. It's really cool, and it's everything you want from a motorsport event. The fan village, really lovely. There's stuff to do. There was like little simulators where you sat in a chair, and the real on-screen footage from this season
Yeah.
explaining the season, and the chair rocks and moves and vibrates. There's lots of stuff to do. We spent a couple of hours just in the fan village, just doing free activities. Um, Loved it. Yeah, really,
Let's
really good fun.
let's have a quick chat about fan villages then, because one of the things that I would say that has definitely improved from the last time I was at Budapest is the fan village. So it was split out into three different areas. So wherever you were sat, there was some sort of entertainment thing. So there was like the eSIMs around one part. There was the pit stop practice challenge around another part, and then round the main bit there was a few other bits. But the interesting bit for me, they had the constructors trophy in a cabinet, and you could get close enough to it to take a decent couple of pictures and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty good.
That's cool.
Um, they also had the usual merchandise stall. And if you'd said to me, here you go, Andy, here's £100, go and get me a Lando Norris t-shirt, I couldn't have bought you one
Wow.
because there was none.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they're too expensive.
Well, I was just about to get onto that. So cap, a cap was around £50. A shirt for other drivers was around about 60, 70, 80. It was very expensive. There was obviously what you would pay, then the track tax sort of on top of it. But what was disappointing for me is like I'm seeing all of this merch for Mercedes, fair enough, all this merch for Max Verstappen, and then literally we had two rails in the main fan village. And what did it have on it? McLaren hoodies. What are you not going to need this weekend? McLaren hoodies. So it was just like, right,
Um, So there was just no, wasn't a McLaren because like at Silverstone, there's around the track, there's dedicated booths that are just each team, and like some
Yeah,
small pop-up booths, and then the big stores. Well, there's none of them.
no, there were, but for not for McLaren. There was a Mercedes one and a Red Bull one. That was it. You would have thought, well, okay, if you use that logic, you could probably have argued that a Ferrari one would have gone down well. Ferrari tend to be, they're a pretty big team. Sell a lot of merch to people who don't know anything about F1. So, you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
casual fan that turns up, oh, well, I'll support Ferrari for the day because, it's a Ferrari, isn't it? So,
yeah.
um, what I would say is that, yeah, the merch wasn't particularly great because obviously I was shocked. I'd never seen anywhere at a race where I couldn't just go and buy, a team shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
There was nothing, and that was it. That was the Friday. So,
Wow.
um, but oh, just on that point, I've also never seen so many fake and badly fake McLaren shirts in my life.
Oh, oh my word, I remember that. It was awesome. You could literally buy, yeah, yeah, the worst.
They
Yes.
were they were like as if somebody had seen what they look like, then gone onto Microsoft Paint and then just got that printed onto a t-shirt. Um, there were some horrendous ones in the people were wearing and in the not so official stores kicking around outside of the track.
Because on the way in, okay, there's two things that I remember from Hungary. One is all the unofficial stores selling the rubbish stuff, and the other is the adult entertainment tents.
So I can only comment on one of those two things.
And we
And
won't talk about the merch.
exactly. And basically, well, I didn't see any of those tents, so they maybe cleared that up. But also, there was hardly any of those um, random merch places. There was maybe
Oh,
one or
really?
two. There was a lot of what looked like the same officially type things outside now via the gates. So it looks like they've captured that bit as well.
Mhm. Do you
Um,
remember from 2013, 14, there were just the adult entertainment tents just
I
around
I
outside?
was aware of them, yes. Doesn't mean I visited them. Given that the taxi queue to get home is like 3 hours, you can understand that probably the appeal of it to some people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
but yeah, yeah. So it's interesting though, because I would have thought that, you know, well, I don't know. This is the bit, and maybe there was no McLaren merch left because they'd sold it all in Silverstone previous couple of weeks ago. But I don't know. But if you're taking your young kid to the race or something like that, and you want to buy them a McLaren top, they should at least be able to buy. There was no kids stuff either. It was very. I got a picture. I'll put it on the feed later. But it was just like what? Yeah, I've never seen that before. And all my years of going to races.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that Formula One wouldn't want to take our money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. It's like, oh, I don't really want to buy a Esteban Ocon shirt.
Not going to.
No. So, it's like, yeah. And caps. I had a bit of a dilemma. So I thought, right, do you know what? I'm not going to take a cap because I'll buy one,
Oh,
right? But I took my bucket hat because I thought, well, if it rains, my McLaren bucket hat is waterproof. But I'll just get a cap while I'm there because I was banking on the places outside the track having some of the older merch, even if it was like one of the old red Vodafone ones. I was just going to rock that for a weekend.
so you just reminded me, Hat. That was that's Jake and Sam.
Excellent.
That's very cool of them. Yeah.
And you could buy
Um,
that hat there as well, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did have some McLaren caps, um, but they were literally you had the team cap and um, another cap which had the speed mark on it and like a speed mark pattern. Um, but yeah, so I was slightly disappointed in that because I was just like, I'll just buy a cheap old school McLaren cap, and kind of go with that. And that obviously that didn't happen. Yeah,
You got
but
to wear your bucket hat all weekend though.
I did, and it did the job. It did really well, given
How
how
many
hot.
times did you dump it in a bucket of water and put it on?
I see our magic towels. Put them around your neck. Keeps you really cool. So yeah, uh,
Just not a look. It's not a cool look though, no matter
it's
what you
not
do.
a cool look. I'll tweet that photo as well.
Uh,
Interesting enough, one of my friends that I went last time with, who took the mickey out of me having one of these towels. What did he turn up with this race with?
really,
Yeah.
I
And he was like, I'm totally sold. I'm like, yeah, it makes such a difference. I'll be taking it to Singapore as well, I'll tell you.
I wear it in the heat. I will put a towel. I will so towel. It doesn't look cool, but I definitely depend on it, 100%. Yeah. Talking of hats, by the way, McLaren have confirmed officially that the OP1 hats are not for sale.
Right. Okay. Let's see what we can find on the internet.
Yeah. Which engineer would like to sell me a hat for £100?
You heard it here first. But Baz, where's your hat?
I'll, I will promise to never put it on eBay and go with the other stuff that's never been shown on camera.
Yes, there is a special McLaren fans podcast with all of the stuff that me, myself, Andy, and Sarah have collected that shall never go on camera because some people in the team might get um, uh,
Oh, strongly worded
irritable.
email.
So, yes. Zach might tell them, don't do it again. Um,
Yeah,
which is not what we
that's
want.
cool. No,
So,
that's cool.
right. So, have you got any more Formula E? Anything else to?
The only thing to say is end of Formula E season and heartfelt. I just want to say thank you to all the team. Genuinely, it's been a battle this year. What a big high for Sam in Sao Paulo. A really big high for Jake in Misano, and some absolute battles for other weekends. So thank you for keeping spirit and keeping going. Not the easiest season, but next year, bring it on. We'll absolutely smash it in a
Yeah,
good way.
I think what now that that's finished, what we should try and also do is maybe let's see if we can get Kenny on again to do the indie stuff, and we'll have a chat about indie on one of them soon.
Um,
Because obviously, things are going okay, but Pato's doing pretty well, and whoever else we've got driving for us this week, in the
Theo,
IndyCar,
probably
uh,
Theo, isn't it?
yeah, Teddy
Did you see the
Puerto.
timeline? By the way, see the timeline of when he found out to fly in, to get into airports, to transfer, to get to airports, to transfer, to get team kit on, to then get into the car.
No,
There's a minute by minute timeline from ESPN, I think, did it. And he literally got to the track in kit, got in the car, drove. Like
wow,
it's unbelievable. There's a video of him getting greeted at the airport by one of the social media people, giving him t-shirts and stuff to go to the toilet in the airport to go and put on to then walk out wearing team kit. It was so whoever organised that, kudos because he did 3 flights. Really well done to whoever organised that.
yeah, yeah. Well, good to see him, but I rate him. I rate him actually.
We
He
love to see it
deserves a
too.
chance. Yeah. So let's fingers crossed. Let's see and hope that works out for him and he stays with us for a while, longer than
Yeah.
last time. So that'd be good. Yeah. So maybe we'll get a bit of an IndyCar sort of update. See if we can arrange that. Um, the thing that's caught me out this week is it's race week and Spa,
Hey,
and this is why it's caught me out because Spa is normally at the end of August and it's normally the first one back. But because of this crazy calendar, they've now moved Spa to the first part of the season sort of thing. Uh, and it's totally thrown me out. So there you go. Because it's always normally around August bank holiday in the UK. So I was like, really, that's it. Last race done. And it's like, oh no, there's another one next week. So I doubt we'll be covering Spa unless, of course, we win that one too as well. But I would
of course.
suspect we'll be back around Monza.
Where's
Um,
your faith? We're going next week because we're gonna have a 1-2 again.
are we going to Spa? Shall I
No,
pick you
you
up in the
can go on.
Alpha? Um, and yeah, what I am going to say is I'm off to the Singapore Grand Prix. So if any McLaren fans are going to that and would like to sort of say hi or meet up and just let's have a chat, let's have a McLaren fan group selfie or something like that at the track, or even better if we get a 1-2 win there as well, celebrate. That would be cracking. So yeah, if you're off to Singapore, give me a shout and yeah, we'll keep in touch. And I think that's it for this week. We've done like an extended version of the
Yeah.
podcast. Who knew two old blokes could waffle on for so long? Anyway, uh, uh, I was just going to say thanks very much, Andy, and we'll be back soon. So there we go.